there's a cost to being in business. We fail to recognize and realize that there's a cost to leadership. And the remedy is not a gym membership. The remedy has to be built as intentionally and as consistently as you've built your business.
You know, if I'm actually gonna show up and have the energy and the creativity and the things that I need, I have to have this workout. And then I have to, eat these foods or have my quiet time, my meditation, write my gratitude journal. I've got to do these things, even if it's abbreviated. But in order for me to show up as the best kind of boss, the best dad, the best husband that I can be, I've got to at least let this be my prayer.
It's no surprise that as business owners, as business leaders, as we continue to lean forward, why do you think we struggle so hard in our businesses when our health hasn't been looked after? It's because we can't generate vision and be creative and have organization and structure at the level in which we need if our body and the thing that we're asking is not well.
On this episode of the podcast, you're gonna learn why your health is your greatest business asset and how to start treating it that way. You're gonna learn the 4 key metrics that you need to track and optimize your performance, and how small tweaks to your daily habits can lead to massive results. Listen to this episode and you're gonna get ripped. Oh, what is up, my friend? Hey, it's Ryan from Studio Sherpas, and this is the Grow Your Video Business show. I am grateful to have you here, and I was having a little bit of fun with the intro there, but I am serious. This is a topic that it needs to be discussed, and I've brought on an expert to help us. And I'm excited for us to dive in. But before we get into the episode, I have got something special for you. If you have a desire to supercharge your networking game so that you can grow your business, if you are introverted or extroverted, I don't even give a care. But I've put together what I call Ryan's Guide to Networking, and this is a cheat sheet that's packed with my top tips and strategies. I've been networking for my business for over 20 years, and I feel like this is an area that I'm actually pretty good at. So not only are you gonna get access to these actionable tips and strategies that are useful and helpful for even my friends that are introverted. So if you hate small talk and you're just like, I clam up, I don't know what to say, it's not fun and I don't like it. And if you always feel like you're trying to pitch your services and you just feel salesy, this free guide is gonna help you not feel like that. So you're gonna learn my top networking tips and strategies, conversation starters, and powerful questions and follow-up techniques. And I've also got some of my favorite books and podcast episodes, so some other resources that I recommend. And I even have a video walkthrough that's gonna, where I help coach you on how to do this better. And really, I think it just comes from a heart of wanting to be helpful with your service, which in this case, it's video, and video is so powerful, and we want to be able to help as many people as we can. So when you're out and about and you're meeting people and people are like, hey, what do you do? This guide is gonna help you be able to answer that question and not make you feel afraid that you're gonna get follow-up questions or make you feel like you're trying to pitch your services or whatever. So you can grab this document, this free download, by going to studiosherpas.com/networking. That's studiosherpas.com/networking. Go grab that, and in the meantime, let's jump into this super powerful episode all about how to get ripped. Just kidding, but seriously, how to make really healthy decisions and how to do it in a way that you can do it. We can do this, okay? All right, let's go. What's up, friends? Hey, welcome to another episode of the show. With me today is Mr. Justin Roethlingshoefer, founder of Own It Coaching. Justin, what's up, man? Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Oh, Ryan, it's so great to be here. I'm excited to dive in with you and just have a really fun and informative conversation, I think, that's gonna just empower a lot of people.
I love it. So I did see you raise your arm like that, and I think that's because I nailed your last name, or just because you're so excited to be here?
Well, I would say both, but the fact that you nailed the last name just brings a whole new level of credibility to you and your ability to just
You know,
lean in to be coachable.
That's right. That's right. That's what I love it. So speaking of coaching, you have worked with NCAA athletes. You've worked with NHL athletes, probably others. I'm curious to know, as a Detroit-ish, we're like 45 minutes from downtown from Little Caesars Arena. Who's your favorite Detroit hockey player that you've gotten to work with?
Of all time?
Of all time.
Steve Yzerman.
Yes, let's go.
Yeah.
Easy. I love it. My mom used to have a crush on him back in the 80s. Those are fun days. I think she probably still does.
You guys just amazing. Like I remember growing up watching him and then being able to be in just his presence. It was just wow. And it wasn't just his ability to play, but his ability to lead, his leadership ability. And he's one of the greats, a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so fun. Quick story. I don't think I've ever mentioned this on the show because I really haven't, we just don't really talk much NHL. But at our previous house, just a couple of miles away from here, we had a pond. And so in the winter here in Detroit, like the ponds freeze. And our neighbor that lived right across the pond, this guy is probably, 55, 60 years old, would come out and shovel the pond. And he had a goalie net and set that up. And I went out there, talked to him. His name's Kevin. And he's like, oh yeah, like get your kids out here, just skate. And then his son came out and he's like, this is my son Dylan, and he plays hockey and blah blah blah. And ended up, I was like, oh, Dylan Larkin, who eventually would become the captain of the Red Wings. And super fun story. My kids got to skate with him back before he was a Red Wing, and and then he became a Red Wing. And so anyway, that's my claim to fame. Dylan, if you're listening, love you, man. Keep up the good work.
Was he, just out of curiosity, not to derail anything, but did you notice a head and shoulders difference between him and his ability then and what you saw from anybody else?
Ability as far as like on that pond, or oh yeah. I mean, well, he was probably 20 years old. I forget when he got drafted, but and it also, like, here's what I love so much just about their family in particular, but really any hockey player that we've ever met, just the kindest, sweetest, humble. For the level of talent, I would just expect like maybe a little bit more cockiness, but man, just the salt of the earth, and just great people.
Beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. So tell me, I'm curious to know, like, in the work that you get to do, what's the most fun or the most fulfilling part of what you do?
Yeah. So I'll give it as two answers. So number one is I love to solve problems that people have deemed unsolvable. So when they come and they're just like, Justin, I can't lose weight. I don't know what it is. I've tried everything. Yeah. Well, we haven't met yet, so you haven't tried everything. It's 2 weeks ago, was talking with a guy who was a marathoner. He just sold his business for $150 million, and he was a marathoner, and he went and had a surgery done, and they actually severed his phrenic nerve, which is the nerve that activates the diaphragm, which, if we don't know how the diaphragm works, it's the muscle sitting underneath your lungs that actually moves up and down and allows you to breathe. And so as he gets to a certain heart rate, his diaphragm doesn't work at the level in which it needs to, and so he hyperventilates at certain heart rates, and so he's not able to run the marathons anymore as he was loving. And so at 55, he was in the best shape of his life, and now at 57, he feels like he's in the worst shape of his life and extremely depressed. And he goes, Justin, I'd give the $150 million away to be able to run marathons again. Well, we've been working together for 2 weeks, and he's had more progress in 2 weeks than he's had in 2 years. And I said, well, I'll take a $150 million check whenever you're ready. But we've got him signed up for a marathon in 8 months. And he's in tears every time he finishes a session, because he's just like, I'm having progress and have been given hope that I've never had before. And so it's solving problems for these people that have deemed them unsolvable just because nobody's ever had the understanding, the knowledge, the wisdom, or the care to really go deep and understand how personally we need to treat each person to get the results that they actually need at a high level.
Yeah, that's amazing. So if you're on an elevator with somebody and they ask you, what do you do for a living? How do you encapsulate that work?
I work with people on an individual basis to optimize health so that you can live long and lead well.
Yeah, I love that. As I'm, picturing you working with athletes, and this guy is a perfect example. I think it makes sense, and we all understand, like, oh yeah, if you're professional athlete, you need a trainer. You need somebody that's in your corner like that, that's going to coach you. And I'm not talking business coaching, like, get these sales numbers, make these calls, like do this thing, but like, here's how you can optimally perform, strengthen your back, your core, do these things, and you're going to be faster. You're going to be able to jump higher. You're going to be able to last longer, all of these things. But then when we transition to, that's not my audience, right? My audience is not, I think there are some athletes. I mean, I played pickleball, so like, let's just call that what it is.
Athlete.
Yeah.
Fastest growing sport in America.
Yeah. I may have torn my Achilles and had surgery too. So let's not get into that right now.
So you contribute to that stat as like 67% of all pickleball players have had some type of surgery or major injury in the last 5 years.
Gosh. Yeah, that's me. Well, last 6 years. That was 6 years ago. Yeah, so I don't fall on that stat. I'm not just a number. Anyway, I digress. So as we're talking about and talking to business owners, I think, man, and I think I fell into this trap for so long where all of the things, all of my efforts, where I invested time and money was I'm buying business books, I'm going to business conferences, I'm learning all the things on how to grow a more sustainable, more profitable, better business so I can be a better boss, I can be a better filmmaker, I can, make more money doing this thing and keep more of it and all of those things. And the health thing is just kind of like, yeah, I know I should be running. I know I should be, doing some, push-ups and whatever. And, when I look at the last 20 years of my life, it's like, times where I did exercise and work out and times I didn't. So how do you get the attention of somebody that's, 30 or 40 years old that is like so gung-ho on building this business when knowing that there's so much more to being successful and creating something sustainable when we're talking about your health?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So first off, we have to get really honest. And what I mean by getting really honest is it's so easy, and I'm going to speak specifically to men here, is it's so easy for a man to go, I just provide for my family. I'm a go-getter. I am a problem solver. I am a high driver. I'm a pusher. I'm a doer. I'm a champion. And the way you're validated is in your business. It's like, hey, I'm winning in my business. I'm winning in my finances. I'm winning at home because I've got a great family.
Yeah.
But if you look in the mirror and if you really say, do you feel well? Do you feel confident? Do you feel like you're mentally sharp? Do you feel like you can actually go and participate and do all the things that you want to do? The answer is no. And in some cases, you're like, if you start to think about your mortality for a second and say, hey, how long are you going to live?
Yeah.
You're like, I hope I live to 100. I hope I live to this, but I don't know because I don't feel well most days.
Yeah.
And when we sit back and we think about this, we've put it on the back burner and we've justified it because we're providers, because we're business owners, we're family men. And as we continue to push and as we continue to go, what happens is we slowly start to degrade faster and faster and faster until we hit a rock bottom pile that we now have to take some type of action, and it's no longer preventable, but it's actually reactive.
Yeah.
And so what I actually come back and I end up saying is there's a cost to being in business. There's a cost to being a business leader. There's a cost to being a leader of your family. Just like there was a cost when I was, for 12 years, was the health and performance director in the NHL for the best athletes in the world. And my role was to create systems, 25 different systems for 25 different men based upon their training status, their age, how long they'd been in the league, the certain issues they were struggling with, so that we could remedy or combat the cost of what it was to be an athlete. the banging on the body, the wear and tear, the travel, just what the sport asked of them.
Yeah.
But yet we fail to recognize and realize that there's a cost to leadership. There's a cost to doing business. There's a cost to owning a company. And there's a cost to going on this mission. And the remedy is not a gym membership. The remedy is not a massage once a month. The remedy is not going on a vacation with your family once a year. The remedy has to be built as intentionally and as consistently as you've built your business. You have certain KPIs in your business that you focus on to understand the health of your business. You have business divisions that have certain roles and responsibilities so that your business functions and that you have more capacity. And then you have a business strategy so that all of those divisions can come together and actually work hard. And so I use that same framework to help people understand their health. There's KPIs we need to know. And there's 4 major ones. What's your heart rate variability? How are you handling stress and strain? What's your sleep quality? How well are we actually sleeping at night? What's your VO2 max? How efficient are you at utilizing oxygen? And then what's your cellular deficiencies, meaning what vitamins, minerals, and amino acids are available to actually be used. And if we know these 4 and can optimize for these 4, that's when we come into your business divisions, which are all of these different habit structures. We've got exercise, nutrition, sleep, stress management. So we've got these 4 different business divisions.
Yeah.
But if you were to say, hey, just go throw these habits together, it's like, well, I'm confused. I don't know how they work together. I don't know how synergistically they play together. I've got to take the kids to soccer. I've got the travel. I've got a trip I got to go on here. I've got this, that, and the other. Well, that's where we come into the strategy. Because now within the strategy, we start to build playbooks that are individualized, purposeful, and built sustainably so that you can actually have them measure up to the time of season or the time of life you're in, the season of life you're in, the priorities you have, and what is most important today so that now we can hold you accountable over time, because consistent and intentional behaviors done over the course of time creates inevitable results.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, hitting on lots of things here. I read at the end of last year a book that totally changed my perspective and motivated me in a way that I haven't been as far as my health is concerned. Peter Attia, Outlive. Yeah.
Great book.
VO2 Max. I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
Here's a cool picture. So I was walking through. I'm just going to pull it up for you. I was walking through the airport in Miami yesterday, and as I walk by, I always look, right? Because I've got some books out, and I just came out with my last book, The Power of Ownership, back in April. That was a USA Today bestseller. And here's what was sitting next to each of them. So literally.
That's awesome.
Yeah, literally,
Yes,
Peter
let's
Attia's
go.
Outlive and The Power of Ownership next to each other, kind of like as that 1-2 bang bang punch. So it was kind of cool.
It's pretty cool. It would have been fun if he like came up next to you and was looking at the books too, and like,
It's like, hey,
look at my books next to his book. That's cool, right? Yeah. So I read that book, and it was the first time that I just started thinking about my mortality in a completely different way. I think one of the things that he said, like, hey, we're living longer, and you think, what do you want to be able to do when you're 80, 85 years old? Mm-hmm. Things like, lift your carry-on luggage up above and stow it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even think about that. I just assume that, I'll be able to do that. But he talks about the way that our muscles just kind of like, year after year, they get exponentially worse and worse and weaker and all these things. And so anyway, I love that we're talking about this, because there's so much that we can do. And this is what I just think is so smart with how Peter presents this, is that instead of like waiting until stuff hits the fan and we're like, crap, I threw my back out. Crap, I can't do this because, whatever, I'm overweight. I can't, do these things. It's like, there's so many things that we can do years and years prior to, if we would only just see the importance and understand that we can't just say like, I'll get to it when things get really bad. It's like, no, you can prevent things from getting really bad and really like live a much healthier, stronger life, to be able to show up for your family in ways that you just assume that you can, but you probably won't be able to.
Yeah. And I think that's where, what we've built as a team is just so cool is because a lot of times when they look at it, number one, people get overwhelmed. Yeah. Number two, people don't know what they don't know. Number three is they have a hard time keeping themselves accountable. And number four, they have a hard time shifting and adjusting to the changes of life and what life throws at them. And so when they're not perfect with something, or they get thrown out of their routine, or their routine has been made too rigid that they don't know how to pivot, they're unable to be consistent with something. And so that's where for us, we've just built this amazing team and this amazing structure and this amazing system and process where we're able to understand, okay, Ryan, let's get some key metrics on you. These 4 that we were talking about. Let's get these 4. And again, we're 100% virtual. So we've got clients in Canada and all over the United States. And so we have the ability to get all 4 of these metrics to get started, to understand, okay, what do we have? What's happening? What's going on? And then we learn, okay, what's going on with Ryan? Ryan, what's your priorities in life? Ryan, what are you currently going through? Ryan, what are your obstacles that you're currently suffering from? And then we build remedies around that. Because if you were to come in and I was to say, oh, Ryan, here's your exercise plan, and here's your sleep plan, and here's your travel framework. Well, you're like, bro, I don't travel private. I have 5 kids and a wife that are up and wake up in the middle of the night. I have a business that has me doing all of these types of things. There's no way I can do that. And this is why people get overwhelmed. It's not until I understand what's going on with you that we can shift things in this way that create a lot of power. And here's, I think, the cool thing is when we talk about doing things the uncommon way or doing things differently, at the end of the day, it's really only doing 10% more. So when people think, oh, well, Justin, I go to the gym. What else are you going to make me do? I have a night routine that I already operate with. What are you going to make me do? Well, we're going to adjust it, and there's going to be probably a 10% shift in what you're doing. You're already going to the gym for 60 minutes. Wouldn't you want to get 60 real powerful minutes out of it that's tailored towards what you need? You're already trying to meditate and do breath work throughout the day. Well, wouldn't you want to shift it so that we could actually help you in a little bit more powerful way? You're already eating food throughout the day. Wouldn't you want to be a little bit more educated so that we could actually get you in a little bit more powerful way to get the results that you want? Well, you're already trying to build your mindset and build some of these strategies. Wouldn't you want to make sure that we had a coach that was guiding and educating how you were implementing these so you could actually be consistent, you could actually see results, and you could actually stay just continually more motivated? What keeps you more motivated than seeing change and results over and over and over and over again, and instills hope and joy in the process because you see where you're going? It's no coincidence that when we talk about it, hope deferred makes the heart sick, and the heart sick prevents vision, and without vision, the soul dies. It's no surprise that as business owners, as business leaders, as we continue to lean forward, why do you think we struggle so hard in our businesses when our health hasn't been looked after? It's because we can't generate vision and be creative and have organization and structure at the level in which we need if our body and the thing that we're asking is not well. Yeah,
dude. Oh man, that's really good. If we had this conversation a year ago, I would have a very different perspective. And today it's almost a little embarrassing because I definitely have a long way to go, but I'm just like, I have a completely different mindset where like I'll get up in the morning and my workout routine is like usually first thing. That's like the first thing that I do. And where in the past, I'd just be like, I do have a lot of work to do. And I'm going to get up extra early tomorrow so that I can knock out this proposal. I can write this blog post. I can do this thing, whatever. And today my brain has been reprogrammed to say like, no. If I'm actually going to show up like and have the energy and the creativity and the things that I need, I have to have this workout. And maybe it's going to be a more efficient workout today, but I have to get my heart pumping, and then I have to, eat these foods or, do this kind of like have my quiet time, my meditation, write my gratitude journal. Like I've got to do these things, even if it's abbreviated, but in order for me to show up as the best kind of boss, the best dad, the best husband that I can be, I've got to at least let this be my priority instead of like, well, if I get time, if I can get these work activities done, then maybe I can squeeze something in later in the day. It's shifted and it's different. So how can you help this audience, this person that's listening, that was the same as me for the longest time, that was my excuse.
Yep.
And I wish that I would have reprioritized, because just like what you're saying, if you don't have the energy, I mean, the way that our brains work, it's like there's so many things inside of us that are hungry and that need to be fed in order for us to show up, not just like, oh, I'm healthy, I feel like I'm in shape, but like in order to like have the most creative thoughts and the best ways to show up for your employees and clients and all that stuff.
Yeah, so really great question. So I'm going to give a couple different frameworks, but then I'm also going to help people understand some of the KPIs in the data, because I think this is really important to be able to track progress and see improvement. And so first things first, heart rate variability, I think, is one of the most important metrics that we can track to be able to understand how our body is adapting to the stress and strain that we're under. Heart rate variability is simply the measurement of time interval between successive heartbeats. And what you're actually going for is a randomized and higher amount of variance between each heartbeat. So, for example, if Ryan and I both had the same resting heart rate, I was handling stress really poorly, Ryan was handling stress really well, my heart rate variability would be lower than Ryan's would. Ryan's would be elevated. Because when we're recovering well, when we feel good, when we're not stressed and in a great state of recovery, our heart goes, oh man, I'm loosey-goosey, I feel good. And so a good heart rate variability number, in general, remember, it's all personalized numbers. But if you're 45 years old and you don't have an HRV of 50 to 80 on average, your body's communicating something to you. You don't have a life rhythm between your habits and behaviors that are actually helping you improve. If you're 35 years old and you don't have an HRV of 55 to 90, your body's communicating something to you. And so these are the things that we need to be aware of. And the nice thing about HRV is it's such an acute metric. You can see day-to-day variations. You can see week-to-week trends. You can understand very quickly if the habits and behaviors you're adopting are actually helping your body adapt well or not. So it's either validation immediately or it's helping you realize, hey, I have to go a different direction. The second thing is sleep quality. We have to measure sleep quality because so many people are like, well, Justin, I get 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep a night, but I wake up exhausted. Well, we're going to come into a sleep framework here in about 5 to 10 minutes, and we'll dive into that for you. But how are we actually sleeping? We sleep in 4 sleep stages. Takes approximately 90 minutes to get all 4. Light sleep, slow wave sleep, REM sleep, and then a wake cycle. The middle 2, REM sleep and slow wave sleep, determine the quality and depth of sleep. And that's where we have mental and physical restoration. And so it's these sleep stages that we need to make sure we're getting into. And we should have somewhere between 40 and 50% of total sleep time every single night in that space. So again, people are like, well, I'm exhausted all the time and I'm sleeping 8 hours. Yeah, but you're only getting 25% of your total sleep time in REM and slow wave sleep. So there's something wrong with A, how we're preparing for sleep, B, maybe our sleep environment, C, maybe our circadian rhythm is thrown off, D, maybe how we're eating before bed. We can go on and on and on. And so these are things that we can start to create change within, all before we're like in this space. And let's dive into like sleep for a second. If you're not sleeping well, not only do you have poor energy, not only do you have brain fog, not only do you not feel well, not only are you probably hanging on to excess weight because it's increasing the amount of food you're taking in over the course of the day because you're just trying to stay energized, but it's this cyclical cycle. Sleep is so important. Then we go into number 3, which is VO2 Max. VO2 Max, if you've never tracked it before, never looked at it, you can find it 2 different ways. Number 1 is you can go and run as far as you can in 12 minutes, usually find a track and track mileage. So as many laps around a track as possible. Multiply that number by 35.3 and then subtract 11.67. That will give you an estimated VO2 max number. If you're like, hey, Justin, I love that, but I'm not going to a track, I'm not running, I don't want to do anything of that level, great. There's a passive way that we can do it. Take your max heart rate that you've ever hit in the last 3 weeks, divide it by your resting heart rate over the last 3 weeks, the average, the lowest. And then I want you to multiply it by 15.3. And that will give you another estimated number of VO2 max. If you're a female, you should have a VO2 max of 38 or greater. If you're a male, you should have a VO2 max of 45 or greater. These are, again, super important. And your VO2 max is going to, number one, it's a great measure of longevity. But number two, it also is a great determinant of how you look. If you want to change how you look, increase VO2 max. Your VO2 max increases, I guarantee you start to look better. You start to lose weight, you start to increase muscle tone, you start to increase all of these things. And then the fourth one is cellular deficiencies, is understanding what vitamins, minerals, and amino acids you're deficient at the cellular level, because every single thing that we do, this conversation, thinking, being creative, exercising, sleeping, drinking and eating themselves, all use vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. And so when we are deficient and don't have them available, it's something that's very critical. And this isn't a simple blood test through your doc or anybody else. It's a specialized cellular test. And that's one of the big things that we want people to understand is when they can get this done, it's able to see, hey, what are we deficient in? So we can actually get targeted meal and nutrition recommendations and then supplementation recommendations off of that. And for people who are like, hey, well, how do I get that testing? OwnItTesting.com is an easy place to go. And then if you use, for your audience, if you use the code Vistage, VISTAGE, they can grab that there. But those are the 4 KPIs that you're going to want to look at and have awareness around so that you can start to say, hey, is what I'm doing from a framework standpoint working? Or am I just wasting more time and energy doing something that I think I should be doing?
Mm-hmm. I love that. I'm curious to know tools.
Yeah.
Gear, equipment, Apple Watch or a Ring, like what are the things that passively, like we could measure quality of our sleep and
HRV,
heart rate? Yeah.
Really good. So my big 2, obviously nothing's perfect. I'm going to say that right off the get-go. I used to be a purist, and I realized that a purist mentality was not something that everybody abided by. So when I was in the league, everyone had to wear a heart rate monitor everywhere, and I had to get raw data and do raw calculations. Well, that's not realistic. And so the best three wearables that you can have, number 1 and number 2, 1A, 1B, Whoop, and Aura. Whoop Band, I love the way that they track sleep. I love the way they track HRV. Those are the big 2. Aura Ring, again, I suggest that for clients that are like, hey, I just hate wearing a band. I enjoy wearing a watch, and I don't want to have both wrists used up, and I don't want to have them stacked. Great, go to the Ring. Aura or Whoop, your big 2. And then the third one that's actually doing a really great job on a lot of these metrics is Garmin. Garmin's doing a really great job as well with tracking some of these metrics. So those would be my big 3. In having some type of passive pull of these data points.
Come on, man. My Apple Watch didn't even make the top 3.
So here's the thing about Apple. So Apple actually pulls HRV at random times throughout the day. So you're not getting a true repeatable and predictable number because hey, maybe you grabbed HRV when you were in mid-workout, and then your next one when you're extremely stressed out, well, it's going to show you have a lower HRV for the day, when in actuality, you actually have felt great over the course of the day, and you've done a lot of really powerful things, but it didn't pull at the interval. With Whoop and Aura, they actually pull during your deepest sleep stages, which is why it's so powerful. is because it's taking it at a predictable and repeatable time over and over and over again. So you're comparing apples to apples. And when you're sleeping, there's nothing that can actually throw it off because you're in your deepest sleep stages. So all of a sudden, you're being able to see, hey, how did my body react to what I went through the day previous?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's really good. I'll say too, a good friend of mine, he started meeting with a doctor who's like I can't remember what it's called, but he basically is like a subscription based. So he paid like $80 a month, and we have access. I could text this doctor, and he's on the Peter Attia train, and kind of just he can help get all of this information and help in certain ways, which has been great for me to have access to him. Obviously, he doesn't do he's a doctor, right? So he's focused on a lot more than just the four things that we're talking about here. When we think about ourselves as, we've got a lot of responsibilities when it comes to running a business, but then also so much outside of business, right? There's our personal life and dreams, desires, hopes for all aspects of our lives. I love how you had mentioned this before we started chatting here, that our greatest asset, what would you say our greatest asset is, Justin?
It's looking you back in the mirror every single morning. It's looking you back in the mirror every single morning. You've been given a God-given abilities, God-given creative frameworks in your brain. You've been given a calling and a gift. And there's certain things that only you can do. Yeah. And I think oftentimes we take that for granted. The hard part is that as entrepreneurs and business owners, and even leaders in general, we're professional problem solvers. And so a lot of times we think that we have to be the ones to solve the problems. We have to be the ones that are continuing leading and going. And oftentimes, because when you look at the history of a lot of people in these positions, they've grown up through chaos in some way, shape, or form. Is it familial chaos? Is it chaos personally? Did they go through really hard times? And what they've found that has worked for them, what they found success in, they found success in chaos because they've been the one to create the solution. And so that's what they trust today. And because of that, that's what they continue to lean into. And they fail to come back to creating predictable and sustainable solutions for themselves when it comes to health and making sure that they are well and that their asset is there. The mind, the body, and the spirit, we have to make sure that they are aligned, healthy, and well, that they are looked after, because you are the asset. You're the asset in your family. You're the asset in your business. You're the asset to your team. You're the asset in the creative abilities. You're the asset in the way that you communicate. And so if we don't have that ability, it's only once that ability is gone that we're like, dang, I'll give anything. Just like that guy I told at the beginning, who all of a sudden worked his life to build a $150 million company, actually looked after himself really well, and then has this surgery gone wrong. And he's like, take it all, give me it back so that I can have the life that I wanted, because I'll build it all again.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. Way to go full circle. It was well played. It does remind me of, have you read Who Not How?
Yes. Really good. So you know what's cool about that book? I actually talk about that in a lot of my keynotes and workshops that I do for companies, corporations, teams, is what he talks about in Who Not How is who can do the job better than you, and who can you hire so that you can ultimately get time back to have capacity to do what you do really well. But when I talk about Who Not How, it's so often in health, we're looking for the how.
Right.
When in actuality, we have to realize the who is you. The who is you. We hire the nutritionist. You're going to solve my problem. We hire the strength coach. You're going to solve my problem. We hire the functional medicine practitioner. You're going to solve my problem. No, you are going to solve your problem. However, we need to assemble a team around you,
Right.
an executive team around you, so that we can put a system in place that the executive team can hold you accountable to as the CEO of your health, so that now you can step into something different. Now you can step into something powerful. Now you can step into something that is results driven, that you actually see, not that you're just hoping for.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. That's I mean, the essence of what I was going to say, except for the you being the who. I was going to say, like, we've got the how, right? It's like, don't get an Apple Watch, get an Oura Ring, get a, whatever. We know the things. Oh, I should be doing, 100 push-ups a day. I should be running, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
But to your point, if we don't have a plan that's specific to how we're wired, because we're all so different, like that's a kind of a newish thought for me. But when I heard it, I was like, oh yeah, duh, that makes sense. Like we're all wired completely different. So we do need specific plans. At the very base, if you don't overanalyze it and just say like, well, I don't know my personalized plan, so I'm not going to do any push-ups. I'm not going to do any. Yeah, and that's dumb too. But to the problem that you're solving, I just love it because it really is like, here's a great example of a who, where it's like you can figure out the things on your own, you can do the things on your own, but if you really want to do it faster, do it more accurate, do it better, to build a team around you, executives, people that you can just rely on, that are in your corner and that know the things, and then you don't have to know all of the things. You just need to trust and then obviously believe that you are your biggest asset, and you need to invest in yourself. So, dude, it's so good. How can people? Where can they find all of the books that you have and follow along with the work that you're doing? And if they're interested in connecting, where can they do all that?
Yeah, absolutely. So number one is the power of ownership. Redeem your health, live life by design, and break the relentless pursuit of normal. That's available everywhere, so you can just go to Amazon, grab a copy of it there. And then if you're really interested in working with us or learning more about what Own It does, how we support the business leader, our mission is to redeem the health of the world through its leaders, so that you can live long and lead well. You can go to ownitcoaching.com. Very, very simple, easiest way to do so. And then just as a simple gift to your audience, something that I always like to do, if you want to do testing, I talked about that a little bit earlier, but just even if you want like how to build frameworks for yourself, like I talked about those things, like the KPIs, the habits, and then how do we build frameworks? If you go to theownitshow.com, what they can get there is a free ebook. So a free ebook downloadable that will actually walk them through what this actually looks like. How can they get started? What does this? How can we start to inform them a little bit? And it's going to take them on a really cool journey. So that's theownitshow.com. They can grab that there, and look forward to really just getting in touch and continuing to serve and help people so that they can again live long and lead well.
Awesome, dude. So good, so rich, so much good stuff here. Yeah, my hope for my audience here is that people take action and do it sooner rather than later. So thanks for sharing your gifts with us, and really appreciate you being here and sharing all this today.
It's amazing, Ryan. I appreciate you. I appreciate the platform you're building and continue to build, and just the obedience in which you continue to lean into it.
All right, remember, my friend, you are your business's most valuable asset. So take care of yourself. If you liked this episode, let me know in the comments. Share it with a friend. Would super appreciate your support in that way. If you have any questions, you can leave them below, or you can email me, Ryan, R-Y-A-N, @studiosherpas.com. Don't forget to grab my networking guide over at studiosherpas.com/networking. Okay, that's it, my friend. I hope you're well, and I will talk to you really soon. Okay, see ya.